So this is a black Irish man, full-blooded Irish. Okay, so we're about to talk about the black Irish into Mississippi. Now, this is my great, great grandfather. I was raised and grew up around his granddaughter, my great grandmother, my grandmother's mother. This is my daddy's people, my daddy's mama people. And so when you begin to look at my father's mother, she's literally 50% Irish, 50% Choctaw Native Indian. Her last name, Reed, came from her Choctaw Native Indian father, Sebron Reed, Reed. So, of course, we're going to think about the Reed Sea or the Red Sea. These words are interchangeable. Choctaw Native Indians are red people. When we begin to look at the word red in Hebrew, it's going to be Adam. Dama, Damah, coming from Adam, Adom. This is the root of Edom. Edom is the landmass that is named after Esau, the twin of Jacob. Edom was described as being born with red skin and being hairy. When you begin to look at King David and Solomon, the tribe of Judah, they were also referred to as ruddy people. Ruddy, red, Rudred, shares the same linguistics root. When you begin to see the biblical narrative, when the Most High began to state that the Israelites were as the Ethiopians or the Ethiopians unto him. Ethiopia literally means red or ruddy. Ethiopians are Cushitic people groups. The Cushitic people groups always married amongst Hebraic people. When you begin to look into my grandmother's Irish ancestors, this is where you're going to get her mother, Lavernia Jameson. The last name Jameson began to come from the Irish people group that were pushed into Montserrat and into Jamaica. So my great grandmother Lavernia Jameson father came into Mississippi from Montserrat when he was about 8 years old. And this is due to the fact that his parents were born and raised in Ireland and they were adults when they were forced out of Ireland into Montserrat, which is why Montserratian Creole and Jamaican Patois are linguistically interchangeable due to the fact that these are the same people groups leaving Ireland going into Jamaica and Montserrat. When you look at the last name Jameson, this is going to be son of James. James is James the Just, who is going to be the older brother of Yeshu bar Yosef. This is going to be the Judaic kingship from their father Joseph of Arimathea. If they were going through the Levitical priesthood, then the bloodline would be traced through Mary. So when you begin to think of Jameson, this is the tribe of Judah that ended up in Ireland after the fall of the temple in 70 AD, as well as traveling there during the time of Yeshu, due to the fact that Yeshu began to state, I have come not but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The lost sheep or the house of Israel are going to be the tribes, the 10 tribes of Ephraim. This is going to be the split of the kingdom, which I believe took place in 963 BC under King Solomon, when you had Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, and Judah, who are going to constitute the southern kingdom, and majority of them remained in the Afro-Asiatic subcontinent until 586 BC during the Babylonian captivity, when they were pushed back out into the Asian subcontinent and into the Americas. And then in 722 BC is when you begin to see the lost sheep of the house of Israel, or the 10 quote-unquote lost tribes, being pushed out into Babylon, Assyria, Spain, England, Ireland, all of these other places. And so when Yeshua began to state that he came from those people, he had to go into their land masses in order to go to them. So when we look at the biblical narrative and you see the missing years between the life of Yeshua from the age of 12 to 30, we have to begin to just use common sense. He told us where he was going. So when you begin to look at my great grandmother's father, Jameson, he ended up marrying my great grandmother's mother, Belle Hugh. Now, when we look at grandmother Belle last name Hugh goes back to the Huguenots. The Huguenots are a French people, French Sephardic Jews, who began to protest against the Roman Catholic Church. The word hue in itself literally means colored. Full stop. When you begin to look at the Huguenots, they originally were in Spain and in Portugal, and they ended up being pushed out and finding their way into these other European land masses. So these Spanish, Portuguese, these black Hispanic people left Spain and Portugal and entered into Ireland, where my grandfather, who is pictured, my great 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 grandfather, Granddaddy John Hugh, was born. He was an older man in 1848. He had a wife, he had children, and unfortunately his farmland was Holocaust and taken over, and media has begun to call this a potato famine. It was not a famine. In fact, my Choctaw Native Indian ancestors that were in Mississippi at this time were sending out reliefs in the form of food and money to these Irish people. The Choctaw Native Indians were also visiting England under this time. So when you begin to see my great 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 grandfather come into Mississippi, where the Reed family already was, they did not marry into the Reeds. Yet the Jamesons, who were also Irish coming into Mississippi, married into the Hughes. So you have Granddaddy Hugh, daughter Belle Hugh, marrying into Harkin Jameson, who was also an Irish man. And they had my great grandmother, Laverne Reed Jameson. She became Reed when she married Sebring Reed, who was a Choctaw Native Indian. So my great grandmother is fully Irish by way of Montserrat. She's a West Indian Irish woman, full-blooded. So when we begin to look at the black Europeans, or the Europeans who might have been coming into America since the 1492s, we need to understand that these are black people. And the West Africans and the Arab people that was amongst them, these are the same people groups. The West Africans and the Arabic speaking people just happened to come into Europe at later dates than these black Europeans, but it was always done in numerous immigrations due to war, due to famine, due to religious persecution. So there you have it. My grandma, my daddy's mama, is literally 50% Irish. Food for thought.